Point one, however, is, and it's worth saying right up front, none of these cuts are desirable in and of themselves. I think Pete is right. There's still waste in the Department of Defense, but it's going to be hard to find and identify that waste even up to the point where the Pentagon is already counting on it. For those of you who follow this stuff in detail, and I know that's many of you in this room, the Pentagon is already assuming that we'll find $60 billion in 10-year savings from reforms and efficiencies that it cannot yet specify. My good friend and former boss, Bob Hale, the comptroller of the Pentagon, when he was between government service jobs about a decade ago, he wrote this paper for Andy Krepinevich's think tank, and it was one of the most sort of, I don't know, low-key but still revealing titles that I ever saw in defense analysis. It was basically Defense Reforms and Efficiencies. Be realistic, but keep trying. And then if you read the report, you saw a lot of small ball ideas. How you say 50 million here and 100 million there, you know, by outsourcing who cuts the lawns at military bases and things like that. Finding $60 billion in savings is going to be hard. And we're already counting on it with the first set of cuts from the Budget Control Act of 2011 that is already the basis for future Pentagon planning. We're already counting on those efficiencies and reforms, and we haven't even identified them yet. So keep that in mind when we get optimistic about finding a lot more waste from which we can cut or save. Second point, the capabilities that I think we can still consider scaling back a little bit, and these are just my judgments, others are going to come to different judgments themselves. These capabilities would be nice to have, and they should not be cut because they are inherently unnecessary or undesirable. And some people will say, you know, it'd be better that the Pentagon be smaller, less capable, because we've been too interventionist and too activist in the last decade or the last 20 or 30 or 40 years, and therefore it's just as well that we rein ourselves in. Well, I don't come from that point of view in general, but I especially don't find that argument convincing today, because today we have all sorts of reasons why we're going to be looking for ways to do less anyhow. We're tired of war. Our military is deservedly fatigued by its roles in the Iraq and Afghanistan missions. We see a Syria conflict that I'm sure many of you, like myself, would love to find a way to do more about, but it's difficult to conceptualize. I don't see the American public or Congress or President wanting to intervene just for the sake of intervening. So this argument that somehow we need to restrain ourselves and cutting the defense budget a lot is a good way to do it, I don't think it holds water very well. These cuts in capabilities are going to be painful and risky, and I would not do most of them, maybe not even any of them, but certainly not most of them, unless we had to. Next broad point is that this only makes sense in the context of broader national